All right, all right, all right. You're listening to the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. With me, as always, my right hand man, Lou. Lou, I know you're out of props. We talked about it, laughed about it. Let's keep it PG here this evening.
Yeah, I can't do any props that just not family
Yeah,
friendly.
that are left in the household that haven't been exposed yet.
We won't talk about what I presented before, but it goes like this. I digress. Go
A
ahead.
lasso?
Yes.
So
I'm huge into cattle.
yeah. Week 4 is in the books. Real quick, I think I need to extend our intro a little bit because that beat is actually sneaky good, and it hits a little bit right before we pop on. I'm I might need another 10-12 seconds of that and feel real good bobbing my head as we come in. So here we are. We're essentially a quarter of the way through the NFL season already, which is friggin' mind-boggling. But week 4, like all other weeks, just ups, downs, craziness. It always seems to exceed expectations, but never match expectations, if that makes sense, right? Because you're this team's going to do this to this team. And then that's literally not what happens. And that's why the NFL is the ultimate league of parity when all is said and done. But as we normally do, the format for covering the weekly recaps is, if you will, we always start with those hot topics. We'll talk a little bit about the hometown takes. I hope you have a little bit for us because we get a little reprieve from you next week as the Chargers head into that week 5 bye.
Before you go on, I am so excited for this weekend of football. For the mere fact that the Chargers don't play, I actually can sit there and enjoy watching some football.
It's nice, man.
No anxiety. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. It's nice. I try to do my best to obviously my wife is well aware of when the 49ers bye weeks are because that's basically when we plan weekend plans, right? Or when I'm we're available on Sundays. But when they might have a Thursday night game, the Monday night game, whatever it might be, the bye week, if I am fortunate enough to sit down and watch, how does Scott Hansen put it? 7 hours of commercial-free football. If I can get that on a Sunday, oh my God, and I only have to stress about fantasy football, what a world.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, when the Chargers have a bye or when they play on a Monday night or a Thursday night or whatever, I'll engage with the family and be like, hey, let's do something Sunday night. I'm going to put football to the side this Sunday. All right.
You.
I'm going to be a great family man, a great husband.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go. Wow. Let's go do something. And they don't realize that the Chargers don't play that day.
Yeah. That's beautiful setup, by the way. But my wife is well aware, right? Because there's something on the calendar during the bye week because she's been what if we want to go apple picking or we want to do that? I'm all right, let me load up the calendar.
Hey, maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if you have enough time,
I don't know. Fill it up again.
Home Depot.
I need a Lowe's Home Depot run and get some stuff done. So after we talk about Niners matchup, Chargers matchups, what are we freaking about in, week out? We always try to have a different team on the docket for a different reason. We'll dive into the offensive and defensive players of the week. We'll start to forecast and predict a little bit about the upcoming week, so week 5. And then we'll actually run through the schedule, make our picks. Just to be factual here, we've only tallied 2 of the 4 weeks just based on when we've done the program, etc. But I do have those records, mainly because I'm actually out to a little bit of a lead on you based off this last week. But
I know. A little chink in my armor.
So I am keeping those records. But Lou, it is hot topic time on the We're Talking Football podcast. I think the most pressing topic right now, at least in our little inner circle here, I'm going to pose it back to you, is your thoughts on a prize-free agent acquisition from a year ago, going back to his old and original stomping grounds where he made his bones. And by that, I mean, obviously, J.C. Jackson heading back to the New England Patriots.
Yeah, man, what a whirlwind of 18, what was it, maybe 12 to 15 months, from when the Chargers acquired J.C. Jackson. We all lauded that acquisition, saying that he was a perfect fit for Brandon Staley in this defense. Great job, matching up the back end of the secondary to the front with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and what have you. So everyone thought it was a fantastic deal, not just Charger fans. A lot of people lauded that deal, mainly because he didn't reset the market. Right? We were talking about that. Like he was like the fifth. He came in as the fifth, fifth most expensive cornerback at the time. He didn't even go top 3 from an annual contract standpoint. It just never materialized. And I feel like there's two sides of the factions of Charger fans right now. Those fans are angry, like, why would you do this? You gave him away for nothing and what have you. And then you have, I'm going to say, the more prudent fans that realizes, hey, this was a bad marriage, right? It's better to cut your losses now. You eat your humble pie this year, you eat your humble pie next year, and then you're free. And then you're free from this. I think the people that I talking about before, the first group that are angry about losing J.C. Jackson is because they're in love with the idea of J.C. Jackson from the Patriots coming to the Chargers. He wasn't that guy, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. He started off right away, with a heel injury or like a lower foot injury. He had to get, surgery, a couple of weeks before the season last year. Then wasn't right. Then got that horrific knee injury. Worked his ass off. Came back. I thought he would start the season on the pup. To be honest with you, I was really impressed. Him putting that work in, but he just was the odd man out, and you can't let contracts and draft values dictate who's starting. Yep. Once you start doing that, you are literally setting yourself up for failure. So it's just a shame it just never materialized. For me, when I saw that news, my knee-jerk reaction was like, makes sense. It sucks because now the secondary is really thin, right? I think that's what I was more bummed out about, but I wasn't bummed out about losing J.C. Jackson because what the hell did we lose out on, Charger fans?
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. So it's not like you're not missing it. The last 2 games they won, he wasn't even on the field. So just saying, people are are upset because the idea of J.C. Jackson, but that wasn't J.C. Jackson.
Listen, at the end of the day, what this accounts to is just a little bit of a cap hit, right? The remainder of this season and next season, like he was a free agent acquisition, so you didn't give up any assets to bring in J.C. Jackson. You're gaining an asset from the departure, which in theory is greater than what his production was on the field. But I agree, right? Like every fan loves when their team makes a huge free agent splash. And that's exactly what J.C. Jackson was. And what made it that much sweeter, and we talked about it almost ad nauseum on this show, was that they didn't break the bank to do it. They didn't set the record or the market for the cornerback position. It was like he almost took a discount to play with his boy Derwin, right? Like, and come to a high-rising team. I guarantee he could have gotten more, but it was more about like the Chargers probably were just a preferred destination for him. But this happens with free agent acquisitions. You know what's funny? They either go boom or they go bust. There's like no middle ground with these big players. And you know what? He probably will go back and begin to perform again in the Bill Belichick scheme, which is what helped him flourish in the first place. Like they do really well at building the cornerback position and grooming that. But the bigger problem for me with this is not the departure of J.C. Jackson. It's just what you've brought up, like Craig, who's been on the show before, has brought up, through social media time and time again, just this notion of like square peg, round hole that Brandon Staley just seems to continuously do with the defense. Like, am I making crazy sense? Like, it's just
yeah. So basically, what you're alluding to the fact is like, hey, JC, we don't care what you were successful with in New England. We want you to come here and play our defense
and do this.
And the crazy thing is, the most successful head coaches in the league, basically, they look at their players' strengths and they cater to them. They don't say, "Hey, you're doing what I'm telling you to." That never works.
No,
I don't care. That never works. I don't care who you are. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. I think all fingers are, to be pointed out, GM, Tom Telesco, head coach Brandon Staley for not making this work. I thought it was a no-brainer because of his versatility. I thought it was a great pairing of the back end to the front and what have you. But just, yeah, these things happen all the time. They don't work. And I'm just glad that they had the wherewithal to basically, cut bait now.
I mean, that's the biggest bonus here, if you will, is like, let's not drag this thing on right into season 3 and 4, and this guy finds the field with a lack of production just because his contract says he should, right?
Well, he
Like,
was also starting to be a little, locker room.
I'm sure,
a little more, boisterous about his displeasure, about his role with the team, whatever. It was the beginning, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, you're going to do that. All right, we're done. Type stuff.
Listen, it's funny how empowering making 16, 17, 18 million dollars a year makes your voice be right in a locker room. Like, just saying, you could pay me a fraction of that and I'd be loud in a locker room too. I like to think positively speaking. So, I mean, that was just top of mind for me because I know that's like a fresh wound, right?
Mm-hmm. I'll say two things though. Here are two negative things that I think will come of this for the Chargers organization, for Charger fans. First negative thing with the departure of JC Jackson, guess what? Now it pigeonholes the Los Angeles Chargers to having them have to draft an early round cornerback in next year's draft. They are infamous for drafting the first round for need, not best player available. And guess what? I'll put money on it. They will be selecting a cornerback round 1. And not sure if that's even going to be the best player available when they do select. Now, I know I'm thinking way in advance, but bookmark this, pin this, whatever. They will be drafting a cornerback early in next year's draft because that's what they do.
Damn, who's hurt you, Lou? Who's hurt you?
Marlon McCree. Secondly, only real fans would know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm also a little nervous and apprehensive of the fact that I think this is going to frighten the front office from being players in free agency. And they're going to curl up in their shell. And I'm a huge proponent. Yes, I know you have to build through the draft because that's your cheap labor, right? But they are only going to, rely on the draft and get little intricate pieces, for like supplemental help. They won't ever go for it again for a while because of this.
No, we'll see. Hey, people. Well, so long as Telesco's there, right? I guess that's a concern, right? But I venture to guess Brandon Staley is not there next season.
If JC Jackson's stint with this team basically led to one interception and the firing both of the head coach and the general manager, I think this is one of the most successful offseason signings of ever for the Chargers then.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Sometimes decisions need to be made.
All right. So I'm going to I'm bringing it right back to you. So you asked me about my hot topic on my team. I'm going to be, going to ask you a question about your team. Your hot, your quarterback there, Brock Purdy. Seen little things on Twitter lately, and you know me, I'm a shit stirrer, love to stir the pot, right? Where do you see Brock Purdy among the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now? This is before you answer. This is going to say a lot about your football character, Weston. So I'm really intrigued, but I will digress and
let's call out what you want to drag out of this. I many times on this show said I still wanted to see this ship sink with Trey Lance, right? Mm-hmm. And that I'm not changing that tune whatsoever. What I can tell you is the more that I get the pleasure of watching BCB, as he's become known in the 49er community, Brock Purdy. He's changing my sentiment for sure, obviously, because it equates to wins. But if you're asking me where I have him, like from 1 to 32, I think he's the middle of the pack, right? Like I'd say he's like 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. And I'm okay with that because we haven't had that, right? Like, so that's elevation in the quarterback position. Do I think he can climb to higher heights? Well, Jesus, nothing that I have seen so far has showed me that he can't. Now, I will call out where this is probably coming from. Your comment on Twitter the other day about Brock, and I said, "Do you have evidence that supports he can't be a top quarterback in the league without this team?" Right? Because we don't. We don't have any evidence. Here's what I will say about Brock. There's nothing from a physical, tangible perspective that wows you, right? He doesn't have the howitzer arm. He's not a 4'4", 40 guy. He's not 6'5". He's not any of those things. But the truth is, the more that I watch this guy, and Lou, you've been watching this game long enough, you've been watching sports long enough to know that sometimes there are people that are just gamers. They're just gamers. Like they're just, and that equates to being all there between the ears. Now, listen, I'm going to make a very unfair comparison to Brock Purdy. I do not want to be chopped at the knees for this.
Oh,
I
I'm
just
going to destroy you.
I just want people to understand. When Tom Brady was drafted by the New England Patriots in the 6th round, no, hold on a second, dude. Hold on a second. When Tom Brady was drafted by the New England Patriots in the 6th round, did anybody ever in their wildest imagination assume that he'd walk away from his career considered the greatest of all time to play the position? I'll do you one better with him. Have you seen the video of him running a 40? It is like the definition of unathletic ability. People didn't start raving about Brady's intangibles outside of his mentals till like after like his 2nd Super Bowl win. You know what I mean? Like it took a long time because for a long time I was like, it's the benefit of a system. No, you can't interject yet. It's the benefit of the system. It's Bill Belichick more than it's Tom Brady. Blah, blah, blah. Like Tom Brady had a better arm for sure, and he's got bigger physical stature. But you know what made Tom Brady better than every other quarterback to grace this is the competitor that he was and the mentals that he has between the ears. Now, I am not saying that Brock Purdy is Tom Brady, and I'm not saying that's his trajectory. What I am saying is that if what Brock is proving to me right now, above and beyond other quarterbacks in the league, is goddamn it on Sunday when the cleats lace up, this dude is a competitor. That's
okay. It. All right, so I think that's not a fair comparison for the mere fact is when Tom Brady had success with the New England Patriots, who the hell was he thrown to? Who was his supporting cast from an offensive standpoint? No one. It was Rasheed Caldwell. It was Deion Brandt. Like, Brock Purdy is basically the throwing to all pros and all stars, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. My question is, you pluck Brock Purdy out and you put him on another team. Is he as successful, and does his talent transcend to that other team?
Okay.
Does he elevate the players around him, or the other players? Hold on, the other players are elevating him. My opinion for what I did right now, I looked at a couple things. It's the other way around. Christian McCaffrey obviously is one of the best running backs in the league, best offensive weapons in the league. Brandon Ayuk, if you look at his chart where it's basically saying
you go say it, BA's a stud.
Well, wide receiver separation and post-throw grade. Brandon Ayuk is in his own atmosphere of being completely separated from cornerbacks. And the reason why I looked this up, Weston, when I was watching you guys play, I'm like, how the fuck is Brandon Ayuk that open? There's like no one around him all the time. So what happens if the talent is not as supreme as it is on the Niners? Now I know. Listen, I'm just saying that. I agree with you. I think he's 14, 15. I have a list of quarterbacks I would take him ahead of, of Brock Purdy. And lo and behold, it's right around that 14, 15 threshold. But I'm just hearing the little chirping from Niner fans. They're having like 7 or 8. I'm like,
I know, which
and you
know
want to know why? Because those are the same people that constitute wins as a QB stat, and you can't do that.
So here's what well, they did this with Jimmy G, right? Like he was always the middle of the pack, but his skills were not, right? Because
11,
he
huh?
won games.
11 what
No,
Rich said right
yeah,
there.
yeah. And I got another comment that I've been holding on to throw up here because I think it parlays real nice in this and gives us one more hot topic before we move on because I know we don't have a ton for the rest of the show. So that being said, that I don't listen, you can't. So to Rich's comment right here, you can only play who's on your schedule, right? And they beat the teams they were supposed to beat rather convincingly by final scores, 30 plus points a game, right? Go look at the 32 NFL teams. There's like 2 that are doing that every week. Them and the Buffalo Bills. Miami just dropped below after putting up a 70 burger by being a 20 spot to them. So doing something right. Here's where you're half right, half wrong. Based on who's on his team, does he have to be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? No, no. But again, where you're half wrong is there is no evidence to suggest that he couldn't do that with other players.
I don't know, man. I mean, I see plenty of plays when he throws out to the flat to Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey takes like, a 3-yard pass and goes like, 15 yards. Just saying, if injuries do occur, throughout the season to one of their significant playmakers, I'd love to see how it correlates with Purdy's success.
But dude, I could have this conversation about any quarterback. I could have this with Justin Albert. Take Justin Herbert. I don't know why I call him Albert. You take away Keenan Allen, right? You take away certain things.
You did last year, and he did last year, and guess what? He was number 2 in passing.
I take away, we take Tua. I take away Tyreek Hill.
Well,
I take away Jalen Waddle.
I'm still not. Well, we're talking about Mahomes. You took away
Travis Kelce. Hill. What happens?
Well, you took away Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes is fine.
Fine, but when you took away Travis Kelce, not so much, right?
I'm just thinking. Yeah. By the way, Mahomes hasn't been playing so well this year.
No, he's not. You know who's been playing better football than Patrick Mahomes? Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? Like, there's an argument on either side of this, and that's why I'm saying, I am being truthful when I tell you he is in the middle of the pack from tangibles, from an experience perspective.
100%.
But you're wrong if you come out and say he's an elite quarterback, but you're also just as wrong at saying, hey, if you take away his talent, he's no good.
Well,
there's no.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying he's right in the middle.
Yeah,
and right now, I think majority of his success is because, man, the talent you guys have on that team is insane.
Yeah, it's not fair. But you know what? I was having this conversation Monday night when I was at the Giants game. That's what, if you look around and you think of the players, the Debos, the Ayuks, the Kittles, go to the defense, Hufanga, Bosa, Warner, Greenlaw, Diamador, Lenore, guys that are standing out all across the board. Aaron Banks hasn't allowed a sack in his career yet as a starter, right? Like,
very good.
These are all drafted players. So we all want to shit on them for the miss on Trey Lance, which was a big miss. But look at all the non-misses, all pros that were drafted. The 2 outliers, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, right? And when we traded for Christian McCaffrey, myself included a little bit on this.
And the outliers, by the way, best left tackle.
But the pundits sat there, right? The pundits sat there and they graded the Christian McCaffrey trade a C-. Those very same people are like, it's not fair that the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's not fair because he's the best offensive weapon in the NFL right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Niner fans, pump the brakes a little bit.
So here's this comment that I was holding on to. I think this is a hot topic. I'm going to address it first, and I'll be short-winded, but I'll let you get to it. So has the overall talent at the QB position in the NFL diminished, or am I just old and spoiled having watched the all-time greats? Is it just a different game now? Is it just because the field is younger now? So I would have worded this question a little bit differently. The talent has definitively not diminished. These guys, these guys.
If anything, I think it's
100%
improved.
It's a different athletic level of competition. The difference is the game has changed, right? It's no longer about your conventional 3, 5, and 7-step drops. The play calling's different. These quarterbacks, see, it's just hard to argue. Like, Would these quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, would they thrive in an era where you were allowed to kill the quarterback? I don't know. I think that the argument could be had that the guys that played in the you could kill the quarterback could probably do well in this where you can't even breathe on the quarterback, but they have different skill sets too, right? Like they were, for the most part, old, slow white guys, right? That were playing quarterback, right? That
You're
just
right.
had good arms. Like
They
the
didn't have the
Randall
arm.
Cunninghams and the Steve Youngs and the Fran Tarkentons, like those guys were so far and few between where now it's a prerequisite for the quarterback. Big arm, mobile, can take a hit,
Which is more important for the modern NFL nowadays. For the mere fact is that the players are faster, they're bigger, they're stronger, right? So if your players are faster on this NFL field, they cover a lot of ground. So you basically, especially from a defensive standpoint, so you got to fit the ball into tighter windows than you ever before. Now you can then make the argument, yeah, well, you're not allowed to bump and run and stuff like that. But I'm just saying the arm talent is completely different now.
Totally different.
I just think it's if anything, it's equal to or maybe even better than the talent that we grew up on because of what their ceilings are.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So so I don't agree. I think this is more of like when we grew, it's just like humanistic nature. Like when we grow up, this was the best of times, right?
Totally.
And I get it, but like if you look at it from a completely objective standpoint, it's equal to. I mean, we have a lot of really good quarterbacks and exciting quarterbacks. Like Mahomes, Mahomes could be better than, in my opinion, I think Mahomes could be better than Brady.
No doubt. I mean, listen, Brady, Peyton Manning, whatever. There was a lot of quarterbacks that have entered this league that are significantly, by pure definition, more athletic and talented than them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that doesn't equate to production. So, Boho, your comment is just more about nostalgia. That's the era that we grew up in. That's the era that hooked us into football. And there were some greats. Montana, Marino, Young, Favre, right? Like the list goes on. Elway, like guys, like you can name them for days that were just really exciting. By the way, Lou, look how attractive our audience is when I look at those comments. And before I get canceled here, that is my wife. For anybody that's logged in,
comment on this.
I'm allowed to make those comments. But what an attractive audience we do have. Who, by the way, is the biggest Brock Purdy fan of all time. I'm pulling this comment down because she's going to destroy me. All right, Lou, let's get out of the hot topics. It's hometown take time. Steal the show right here. Talk to me about Chargers Raiders.
Chargers Raiders. There was like an inkling of me that was like, this is gonna be a nice, one of those games that's just easy and relaxing, right? It just gave that vibe off right away, and then the second half happened. So obviously, the Chargers did defeat, the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll start with the positive takes first on this game. First and foremost, the Chargers were really banged up, and they were starting their fourth and fifth safeties. That's huge because Brandon Staley's defense is predicated on those safeties being able to communicate with the cornerbacks to give different looks, right? So that was huge. And they also were out there starting center, obviously Mike Williams. They were banged up, the Chargers. So for them, a shorthanded, LA Charger team squad to get the W against, division rival, you can't take that for granted. I get it that Jimmy Garoppolo was not playing, but I was a little nervous more about the rookie quarterback than Jimmy. When they said Jimmy was out, I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, here it is. Like, basically, this rookie quarterback that the Chargers have very little film on, don't know his tendency so much. He's more athletic. He's going to give him some problems. I was really nervous about that. So let's start from more, let's start some of the things what I saw from a positive standpoint. First half, the offense was extremely efficient. They ran the ball well. Loved the creativity in the running game and how they used Darius Davis, in the backfield.
Right out of the gate, too. And we talked about that like week one. Like coming out of the preseason, we're like, this guy needs to be involved. And they did it, man.
So I love the fact they use him in the backfield. Really injected some life into the running game. I also like the fact that Herbert used his legs. He is athletic. I don't know if how much of the game you saw, but he was running out there. He stiff armed a defensive tackle Pitcher or quarterback to stiff arm defensive tackle to get 4 or 5 more yards. And then when he was rolling out, Max Crosby bearing down on him. I'm not sure if you saw that, but he crossed him over like Allen Iverson, and then Max Crosby looked like he got juked. He looked like he was doing the stanky leg. Like, it was impressive, that fact that Herbert was getting out of the pocket, really moving. And that's something I always thought, he needed. Remember I said, like, he doesn't have to be as reckless as Josh Allen, but you have to show that, like, you can run.
The threat has to be there.
It has to be there. So I love that creativity from the rushing standpoint. And the defense came up big again. They held the Raiders to 1 out of 11 on third downs, which is huge, right? Third down defense was always a problem for the Chargers. They gave up 76 total rushing yards to Josh Jacobs. Well, he had like 58, I think. But from a team, they held the Raiders down. Now, I know the Raiders haven't been running the ball well, but that's still impressive because that's been the Chargers' Achilles heel. And Josh Jacobs is still a beast, so they held him in check. They held him, I think, to 3.3 yards per carry. Yep. And love the fact that the defense sealed the victory second week in a row by the interception at this time of Asante Samuel Jr. And last but not least, you have to talk of the return of the Mac.
Return of the
Mac. I'll tell you right now, man, Khalil Mack hates the Raiders. This is like I think this was like his 9th
redemption
sack.
Game, right?
Yeah, 9th sack against them in the last 2 years or something like that. Yeah. It was really impressive, but he was a man on a mission. And it was ironically because last week we were talking about, I think Mac might, be a little washed up. He made me look like a fool. I mean, he just looked like a man on a mission. Love the fact that he was rushing the passer intelligently. And what I mean by that, he wasn't just trying to go for the sack. He numerous times was going for that ball. Yeah. And there must have been something in this kid's scouting report where it's like his ball security is not good. Because even when like he was close to him, Mack wasn't trying to tackle him. He was just trying to jab the ball out. It was very impressive. So Khalil Mack balled out. Is one of the leaders in sacks now after one game.
Yeah.
Now, just as all the positive, now I got to list my grievances, all right? So some of the
I got a lot of grievances with you.
And it's going to start with the offense in the second half. They were MIA, and I'm not talking where the Heat play at. Seriously, they didn't put up a single point. This was extremely frustrating because this was a bugaboo of the Chargers last year too. Second half disappearing act from the offensive standpoint. And it's crazy because as I'm watching this game, I'm like, watching them starting to Charger, I'm like, I don't even know what's really going on here. And then I realized they're just awful at situational football. I was talking how great they were on third down, from a defensive standpoint. The Raiders were only 1 out of 11. But guess what? They were 3 out of 3 on fourth down. And those weren't 4th and 1s either.
No.
Really frustrating. So it came down to situational football. And they were putrid from both on an offensive standpoint, and defensive standpoint. So that was extremely frustrating. It's like they would have 2 good plays and then let up 1 bad play would totally negate the 2 good plays that they did. So extremely frustrating. They got to clean that up. In addition, the Herbert scare with the finger, that was scary too. I'm like, shit, no, not again. But good for him. I mean, I thought it was cool as shit. He came back in looking like, all mangled and shit. And then he threw that bomb. But I was a little nervous about that Herbert scare because you didn't know what it was right away. You just saw him on the ground. And my last qualm, once again, sticking with the offense, Quentin Johnson did not show up, even though he had additional opportunities to do so. He had 1 catch for 18 yards and 3 targets, and he was out there quite a bit. There's still not a disconnect between Herbert and trusting him make a play. And that's starting to get a little frustrating, but hopefully, the bye week, gets him more familiar with the offense because they can't, you see how different their offense was. They were a little sluggish, without Mike Williams, popping that top off because there was like literally 2 or 3 plays. I'm like, if that's Mike Williams, he's catching that.
Yeah.
There was a fade to Quentin Johnson and there was 2 passes to Joshua Palmer. He dropped. So I'm like, he's dropping. Mike Williams is catching that. So you know what? The bye week came at a great time. They're going to get a lot of their players back. They're going to get Eckler back, Bosa back, Derwin James back, and they go from there.
Yeah. Listen, bye week at this point, right? At the quarter quarter mile, if you will, of the season is a nice luxury. Get some of those guys back. I think, I think what perplexed me most about this game was just the second half again. We talked about this all of last season, right? But it was more about lack of adjustments, right? And doing things differently. I mean, you had a 17-point lead going into halftime. And then when I look, knowing what I know, and then I look at the stat line at the end of the game, I see 24 attempted passes versus 37 rushing attempts. Gosh, that doesn't sound like Charger football when they're winning.
But I didn't
right?
mind that. I didn't mind
No,
that.
no. Listen, you want to run the football, right? And I think that's what the second half really looked like, right? Was more of a let's get out of here versus let's put this thing away and step on their throats. And it just like I don't know. That was just my takeaway from it is what I don't love about your head coach. What I don't love of I won't make this about Brandon Staley. I'll make this about a lot of coaches in the NFL. Like, where is your killer instinct? Step on their throat. Who cares if you win by 70, right? Like, make statements when you can make statements. And I think the Raiders were there to be taken advantage of it. But I understand the conservative, being conservative because you call it chargering could just as easily happen as well, right? So you're like, let's just let the clock run out. How fast can we make this clock run out? But I mean, dude, look, 2-2. I mean, that's where you want to be. Still figuring some things out at the quarter mile mark. That you know what I mean? Like I call that a win because you know more about your team. You know how they respond from a loss, why they're losing. Now, if we have competent coaching, like what are the adjustments that need to be made coming out of this bye week go forward as you get heavier into division play and the other conferences that you take on, etc. But think about the way this season started and how you were feeling to walk out of week 4 2-2. Like,
I don't feel better. I think I have more questions than answers. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I mean, listen, nobody in the division, like Kansas City Chiefs, ain't balling. They're winning football games, but they're not balling just yet.
Like they still figuring it out. Yeah, we'll see.
All good teams start slow, bro, and then it's all a matter of what the back 7 games look like. That's what it boils down to.
All right, so let's get out of Los Angeles. Let's go to the Bay. And it's so funny. It's so funny that like you were talking about last week when we were picking the games, and like you had like some apprehension about the Cardinals. Like, shut up.
No. This is another one where the score is misleading, man. Like
if you watch that game was close and competitive.
Yes, it was, dude.
Up until the end, and that just shows you, you know what, the Niners just had so much more talent, and that's what they were able to pull away at the end. But I am utterly shocked of what's going on in Arizona, how competitive, they are.
They don't let the 19-point victory skew the perspective of this game, right?
Agreed.
Take away the 14 we put up in the fourth quarter, and it's a 5-point game, right? Like Arizona, you know what? They're just playing team ball. Like Gannon's actually got these guys like competing and flying around the football field. And it starts with
the no-name guys too.
Yeah, you know what? But that makes the best football because you have to play team ball, not individual. I need my 10 catches. I need my 20 touches.
Yeah.
The goal is the same. Go win the football game. There's nobody on this team that has like an incentive, like loaded contract, right? Like you're a bunch of leaguemen and veteran players, like go win the freaking football game. But to me, it shows that they're buying into the culture. I do my show before the game. And like it's still a division opponent. It's never, division opponents are never easy sledding. And again, don't let the score fool you. The Arizona Cardinals, you know what they're doing really well? They're not turning the football over. They're not turning the football over. The other thing that looks like a little crazy is I want to before I make this statement, I want to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Are you counting how many guys are injured on my fantasy football team?
No, yeah. Dude, they had 6 actual possessions the 49ers, and scored 5 touchdowns, punted once. So like it's funny because like you have to like go back and look at that because the game didn't necessarily feel as efficient.
I agree.
But think about that: 5 possessions, 1 punt. Excuse me, 6 possessions, 1 punt, 5 touchdowns. Right, like that is the epitome of efficiency. It's hard for me to critique in a loss when you win, or in a win when you are winning by 19 points. Defense is playing well. They're keeping the ball in front of them. They're not giving up big plays. That was an issue last year with the defense, was the explosive plays, right? The 1 or 2 blunders a game for 50, 60, 70 yards. They are caught, making teams drive the field on them. But it's hard to be negative. If I had to be negative, it's like this second corner slot is not really working itself out just yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's, who is it? Like, is it Diamador Lenore? Is it Ambry Thomas? Like, who's playing opposite Mooney? When Thomas was in there, God, they were moving the ball, and that was scary. And then all of a sudden, wasn't the case, right? So, like, I don't know. When I think about
that sounds like first world problems right here,
dude, it
Weston.
totally is. Like, we're nitpicking. Like, the team, you won by 19 points. Like, what are we upset about? So it's really about. Now, I know there was some comments earlier, and the talk has always been about who they've played, right? So they've played no team that has a winning record at this point in the season, but you can only play your schedule. And here's what I'll say about that is they've won the games they're supposed to win, and in relatively dominant fashion when the final whistle blows, right? And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to mop up mediocre competition. Don't let them hang around because they will figure it out. Mm-hmm. And when I think about, you asked me earlier about Brock Purdy, do I think he's, having an all-pro game every single game? No, I don't. But then I look at it and say, my God, they're still putting up 30-plus points a game when you can argue that you could get more from the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Less. So that it still seems like there's room for improvement. And then the craziest thing that I have not been able to say in the last 2 seasons is at this point in the season, in 2023 season, the offense is ahead of the defense. They're ahead of the defense. Defense is still figuring things out. New D coordinator, new scheme, doing new things, making adjustments, and look what the offense is able to do. But when I think of this game, I think of, okay, 35 points. If I told you that the 49ers scored 35 points, but Debo did not catch a single pass and George Kittle only caught 1 pass in the game, you'd be like, you're lying. You're lying.
I would think that the defense maybe had at least, maybe two tutties.
Yeah. Instead, Christian McCaffrey had 4, right? I mean, this bro, we were talking about it before about the talent around him. This dude is just next level special.
I feel like I'm going to sound crazy, but I feel like they should be. I feel like they're flirting with a little danger with the work.
You're not crazy.
Way too early in the season to be like, especially against this competition, they could reduce his touches by 7 and still be fine. You just said they've been, manhandling these lesser opponents. So why do you need him touching the ball, almost 30 times a game? That's not good. You need him touching the ball 30 times a game in December,
no doubt.
In January, I don't like what they're doing here, and I think this is the old Kyle Shanahan hubris.
No, I agree.
Feeling himself.
This is, I said this in the Pittsburgh game. Like at the end of that game when it was like mop up duty, like why is Christian McCaffrey even on the field right now? Like why is he not undressed in the locker room at this point, like on his way home, or to the team bus? Like, and I understand that, and I think honestly, Christian McCaffrey will start to voice this as well to his own coach. Like, bro, this is not why I'm here, right? Like, I'm not here to be the league MVP. I'm here to try to win a Super Bowl, right? For this team, we need health in the playoffs, and that'll start to happen. Dude, it's not an accident that Debo didn't catch a pass. Like, it was questionable that he was going to even play coming out of that Giants game with his ribs and a knee and everything else. He played. He was a decoy. He touched the ball, 3 times. He had 3 carries for 6 yards. But when Debo's on the field and you're putting him in motion and you're doing all these things, you have to account for him, and that's just going to open up. I think that's what makes this team scary is Debo, Kittle, relatively uninvolved. And then you got Ayuk, like you're talking about, going 6 for 148.
You can't shut them all down. You
Can't.
can't.
It's not possible, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like pick your poison. But right now, in my opinion, Christian McCaffrey is the MVP of the league through the quarter mile mark here. MVP, not offensive player, MVP of the league. And he is unequivocally the most important player on this 49ers team above and beyond the quarterback right now. He's the dude. He could convert to wide receiver and be a top 10 wide receiver in the league. Like he's just on a different level, special. And Rich is right here, and you just said it, right? Like, you don't want him having 27 touches every week unless he's on your fantasy football team, like he is on one of mine. But that being said, like, you need this to die down. We talked earlier about, like, you know, the maturation of Brock, etc. I dialed this back. So literally that's me for the game, right? Like, they didn't have to do much. They just had to be consistent, and their talent rose above the team. It is what it is. And you didn't see a lot of inconsistencies. This game was a little bit different than the matchup against the Giants, where he had a couple errant throws and his receivers had to act as DBs. I mean, dude, he went 20 of 21, right? Like, what is that? 95% completion percentage. That's silly. So he did everything that he was supposed to do. What I don't know about Brock Purdy yet in this 2023 49ers, and what I'm actually, not this weekend, but at some point in the season, I need to see it. I need to see how they respond from a loss, right? I don't care about the loss and what the loss looks like, because every team puts up a dud. Every team has a blunder, whatever it is. I need to make sure that's not him turning into a pumpkin and then can come back to some relevant form.
You're still waiting for the other shoe to drop, mainly probably because where he was drafted.
No, I'm not waiting for it to drop. I'm hoping that it doesn't drop, right?
That's what I meant.
That he is a top half of the league quarterback that understands losses happen and has the memory of a goldfish. Little Ted Lasso reference here. Quickly forgets it, comes back, and we get right back to business, because that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, the loss is going to happen at some point. Just please don't let it be Dallas this weekend. Where do we go from there? But other than that, man, I mean, bro, 4-0. One of two remaining undefeated teams at the quarter mile point. Like, what am I mad about right now?
Yeah, no, you're right.
All right. Speaking of what are we mad about, Lou, who's freaking out? Who's mad out there?
How we doing freaking out? Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, so many to choose from. Do you want a positive or a negative first?
I don't have any positives.
All right. Well, I'm gonna think outside the box here for a positive. How about the Chicago Bears? They should be freaking out from a positive standpoint.
Because they're going to get rid of Eberflus in like the next 2 weeks?
They're going to get rid of their head coach. Well, most importantly, I feel like they're slated to get like 2 top 5 picks. They can easily, next year's draft. They need to embrace the tanking. And the only way to embrace the tanking would be to keep actually Eberflus.
Yeah.
Because
don't go do an intern because they rally.
How many times does that shit happen? I mean, you just look at the Bruce Arians, the
Steve
guy
Wilkes, the defense coordinator with the Carolina last year.
Was it Bisaccia or whatever from the Raiders? Yeah. So they need to embrace this tanking. I've said since day Weston, how many times have I said this, and how early have I said this? Justin Fields is not the guy.
You've been saying it for a long time.
He does not process. He's not a good decision maker. Doesn't process the field. He's a one read type of thing. He is not the guy. And the fact that they have to realize this now, as opposed to they don't want to do what the Giants do and have another Daniel Jones situation that maybe he plays pretty good next year, and then you have to lock him into a long-term deal. They need to move on. They need to wipe the slate clean. And next year is a hell of a year to do it because there's a lot of talent from the positions of need where they have. So Chicago Bear fans, get your bags, put them over your head, go root for your team to lose, because brighter days are ahead if they do this successful. They need to do with the what the Eagles did that one time where they pulled some starters and purposely tanked in the game. I think against the Cowboys, they need to do what the Dolphins were trying to do, tank for Tua.
Yeah.
They need to do this, and
Yeah.
they are on a beautiful path so far.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody who played quarterback, played professional football, just not in the NFL, European professional football, but obviously played college ball as a quarterback. And he was perplexed that why Justin Fields was struggling, because the dude's got plus attributes, right? Like, I mean, how he can run around the field, big arm. But we talk about what separates Brock right now from some people is between the ears, what that looks like. And he made the comment to me of, he's not losing them the games. And he's right. And I said, you're right. But he's not winning any games either. And that's the bigger problem, right? Like if he was losing a game because of a mistake, maybe the mistake's correctable. But in the most important position of all of professional sports, he's got to be able to win a game, games here and there. And if that's not the case, and you just have this even playing field, you got to cut. Like otherwise, you're going to be the same for the next however long it's going to be. And so I agree with you.
I gotta tell you, I have a great, I really love this saying. I think uh, complacency is the enemy of progression, right? So if they want to be even keel and be a 7-9 team win, team that wins, they're always going to be picking in that 15 slot, 16, 17. They are not going to get where they need to get. And I'm telling you right now, just do yourself a favor and throw in the towel.
Yeah, but I think part of that is it's not just as simple.
And Rich is right. Rich White is right. I'm telling you, he is right. And I told this last year, the whole Daniel Jones thing. I go, I would have signed Barkley to a long-term deal and tagged Jones because I'm more comfortable with Barkley's skill set than Daniel Jones. And look where the Giants are right near. I'm not talking. Maybe I'm starting to freak out for the New York Giants, but don't follow that same mistake, man.
Well, you're taking me right to the next point, and it is the New York Giants.
It should be, man.
Yeah,
you should be. We called this last year, right? We called this last year that the worst thing that happened to the Giants was them making the playoffs because
because this is the team they were supposed to be last year, right?
Exactly.
Like this record, this performance. Lou, I was at the game Monday night, and it was brutal. And here's the issue, right? Is the table was set coming into the season.
You almost puked there.
Bro, the acid reflux. I got
just thinking of that game.
My stomach still hasn't recovered from the stadium food and the tailgate
from Daniel Jones's play.
Yeah.
That's more for Daniel Jones's play.
Dude, it was pathetic. The play calling, I don't care if it's Kafka or Dable who's calling the plays. It looks like the Jim Fossil New York Giants, right? Like that type of just straight Manila offense. Like, wasn't like Dable supposed to be that guy, that dude, like the innovator who was bringing it in? And then you had a team that made the playoffs and won a playoff game last year, had the coach of the year, and dude, they can't get out of their own way. That game against Seattle was certainly there for the taking. Now, look, they're going to tell me, Giant fans are going to tell you,
offensive line
is banged up, blah, blah, blah. No Saquon. I don't give a fuck if it's Saquon squared. He can't run behind that offensive line. Dude, Daniel Jones was, I know you know the stats, sacked 11 times. He didn't have 2 seconds to throw any pass. The biggest plays that come from the explosives that come from this offense are on his legs. And you know what makes it even worse is when he is scrambling, he just needs to go. He's hesitant. So he's leaving yards out there. And I don't know if it's because they want him in the pocket more and they don't want him running around because they want to protect their investment, whatever it is. But I am floored at how inadequate, and I'm going to be dead honest with you, the coaching is in New York right now, especially for the Giants. Like, this is football 1-on-1. if your quarterback is getting to his 7th step in a drop step and he's got 2 defenders in his face, move the fucking launch point, move the pocket, get a mobile guy. Like you got me telling you that, Brian Dable, Mike Kafka, like you don't know enough about football to like protect your guy a little bit and not just keep dropping. Dude, he was getting smacked in the mouth left and right. And I don't give a shit if their left tackle comes back, their rookie center comes back, and Saquon comes back. I'm not confident that this team is going to win another football game. That's how bad this product was that I saw on Monday night. It was, you know what makes that sadder is the defense actually played well. The defense actually played pretty well, but this offense is so bad they don't threaten anybody, dude. They beat the Cardinals because the Cardinals are just like a inexperienced team playing with one another, not a lot of cohesiveness, and they don't know how to finish a game yet. That's why they beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, over under Daniel Jones being the starting quarterback in 2025 for the Giants.
Depends what they pick. They pick in the top 3 to 5 this year. He won't be. We just talked about cutting bait with Justin Fields. Cut it and go. It's about this league is about winning games. It's that simple. It starts at winning your division.
You don't want. See, here's the thing. Not sure why they signed Daniel Jones to that long-term deal. You don't reward mediocrity, and that's what they did.
And the argument you'll get for Lou is like, well, what else were they supposed to do? What else was available? I don't know.
They could have tagged him, see if he was the real deal.
Totally.
We literally said that in our off-season show. We could have tagged him, signed Barkley to a long-term deal because he was the offense. So
Giants struggle with this though, man. They're one of those legacy teams. The Maras are loyal to their really goofy, ugly quarterbacks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, look at how many years in a row we're going through this. It'll take a little while for them to move on, but I'll tell you this much. If Dable is not calling the plays, he needs to start literally this week. And Mike Kafka, sorry, dude. You're no longer employed by the New York Giants as the offensive coordinator. You could be like the run game coordinator, the pass game coordinator. Like, you are not the offensive coordinator, dude. It was bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
I don't know why they don't just move the pocket more.
Get the guy on the move. Like, he's mobile. Dude,
RPO that shit. Slow down the pass rush. Dude, it's not too hard, man.
No, it's simple. It's simple equation. Like, yeah, you got to execute, but the philosophy is there. I was talking to my brother, diehard Giant fan, right? Like, before the Niners-Giants game in week 3 on the Thursday night. And I said, the Giants give me concern because they have a mobile quarterback, and the 49ers have traditionally struggled with a mobile quarterback, not a scrambler, a mobile quarterback who can bail out of the pocket and take off on like 3rd and long and do that. Bro, they didn't even bother trying to set it. Like, did they not watch tape on the 49ers on how they defended Russell Wilson and Josh Allen and Kyler Murray and all these guys in the past that ate us up? Like, they didn't even call design runs for this guy at all. We didn't get to him. We had like 3 sacks that game, you know? He got sacked 11 times in a football game. That's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. And I blame the coaching more than I blame the offensive line. Just being honest with you.
Valid point.
All right. You got any other freaking out?
For time's sakes, we can put a pin in it.
All right. So I'll just say the Cincinnati Bengals suck. All right, we'll move on.
I have them there too.
Yeah, let's get to the offensive, defensive players of the week. Let's start with the defense.
I gotta go first. I have.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna take this one from you anyway.
Yeah. You can't. You will not take this away. Last week I started off with the offensive player of the week. Players of the week. It was the Bolt Boys and Herbert and Keenan Allen. And this week I'm doing Khalil Mack, defensive play. I mean, it's a no-brainer. The guy literally in one game, from his performance, leads the league in sacks now. He had 10 tackles and 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, he was this close from making history and beating Derek Thomas.
Yeah.
For the sack record in a game. And refreshing because I got to tell you, We just were talking about his play slipping, for the first couple of weeks. Listen, maybe he's off the reservation next couple of games, but if you're telling me that every couple of games he's going to get a three sack or performance, that's controlling a game. That's like single handedly winning a game.
Yeah.
So if he's not going to get you a sack every game, fine. But if he's going to get them in spurts and singular games, then he's winning you a singular game. Then I'm fine by that.
Dude, 6 sacks is just
it's
ungodly.
Insane.
It's ungodly. Here's what I don't like about that. Is it what's crazy to me is the guy went from literally being non-existent in the category to tied for the league in a single week, right? Negating what other players have done in the previous 3 weeks to accumulate that is what it is. What I think is misleading about this is, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying fans in general of Chargers and just of the NFL, is Khalil Mack, let's say he finishes the season with like 10 sacks, right? And we're going into next offseason. They're going to be like, Khalil Mack's a double-digit sack guy. And is that actually true, considering that 60% of that output happened in a single game and the other 40% took 16 games to equate to that total?
See, Wes, I'm not terribly smart, but I know 10 is 2 digits. So I would think he's a double-digit sack guy then, yeah.
Right. But, okay.
Don't shit on my parade, Weston. Don't shit on it.
Statistically, and you are correct, right? Like being factual. But as a fan who's evaluating your roster going into next season, do you really have a double digit?
Yeah, I'll flip this on a Purdy conversation right now. How many, plays
we're talking about defensive players of the week, bro.
All right. What about, wait till we get to offensive. All right, go ahead.
Right. Go ahead. Obviously I would have agreed 6 sacks, like it's unheard of. But since I was not going to take that low hanging fruit, I'm between 2. I'm going to go with the one that I watched in person. Devin Witherspoon as a corner, 2 sacks, 7 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 QB hits, and oh, by the way, essentially a game sealing and clinching pick 6 that went 97 yards as the Giants were going into the end zone. Not a bad game from the first round rook.
I gotta tell you something. I know Daniel. Daniel Jones is taking shots from our show tonight, right? But did you hear what Witherspoon said about Daniel Jones?
No.
We knew on tape that he goes for his first read and that's it.
Yeah.
If a rookie's saying that and actually proved, from his performance, that also tells me how much faith you should have in your quarterback there, Giant fans.
I get what you're saying, but I'd also just say, let's just say that Devin Witherspoon probably has good coaching that was in his ear. Like he's going to go to his first read, trust it. And like, oh, look, that happened. Right. Yeah. So he's able to say that. But it is the tape, man. I mean, I saw it in the game. First of all, he didn't have time to go beyond the first read. He didn't have time to get to the first read. Like in this game, it was so bad, but Witherspoon had himself. How often did you see a corner, not a nickel corner, a corner, get to the quarterback twice in a game?
Can I tell you something? It's a great segue. I had Harrison Smith from the safety of the Minnesota Vikings as another defensive player because he had 14 tackles and he had 3 sacks, which is kind of crazy. 3 sacks as a safety. Last week we did Kyle Hamilton. I had Kyle Hamilton from the Ravens. He had 3 sacks as a safety as well. So safeties are moving.
What do they have in common?
I don't know.
Both played at Notre Dame.
Ah, okay. I was gonna say something
just corny. Many years apart because Harrison Smith's been in this
I was gonna say
a hot minute. But they played the same position on the field at Notre Dame. But yeah, I mean, you always talk about like 3 sacks you don't get out of bed for, and that's an edge rusher, a guy who's traditionally playing 12, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage to get home 3 times and make 14 tackles in the game. That's I had those are the 3 that I had: Witherspoon, Mack, and Smith. So
don't forget about Deron Bland too for the Cowboys. 2 interceptions and a touchdown. Yeah, very impressive. I know. I
don't talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
I know you hate the Cowboys, but I got to show the Cowboys a little love for some of the people that do like what Cowboys I watch.
This is Cowboy week, dude. Dan, that's the last time I say Cowboys on the show.
All right. So what about offensive player week? I'll let you start.
I'm going with the MVP, y'all, of the league right now, Christian McCaffrey. 106 yards on the ground, 3 TDs, another 7 catches for 71 yards and a TD. And it's just how he does it, dude.
Yeah.
It is just so it's poetry in motion. The way
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't do the gaudy like I'm gonna leap over the guy that's standing. He just sees you in your peripheral as you're in his peripheral as you're making
It's
dives
like
at his
Neo.
legs.
It's like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah,
Like
just like boop, like right over you, glides right into the end zone, always falling forward. He was the
reminiscence.
offensive
I'm not
cock.
saying he is him, but reminiscence of Ladanian. To be honest with you.
Yeah, prime Ladanian for sure, dude. Not New York Jet Ladanian.
That
San Diego Charger Ladanian.
yeah. I black out those years there.
I mean, dude, listen, Ladanian Thomas was a very, very, very special player in the National Football League. And if Christian McCaffrey didn't have those 2 very big injury plagued seasons, you would absolutely be talking about him in the same breath. You probably already are, but like he's that type of player as well, man.
Yeah.
All
For
right.
me, offensive player of the week, I'm going to say Bills Mafia can rejoice. How about the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs?
Yeah.
The Bills needed to show that they still control the AFC East, and they did so with the performance of Allen was 21 out of 25 for 320 yards and 5 total touchdowns. That's vintage Allen, but even showing some accuracy there, only 4 missed passes and really efficient. And Stephon Diggs, 6 catches on 7 targets for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It showed prime Allen and Diggs.
Both of those players needed that game, right?
Yeah.
Like they needed it for
that opponent
themselves as
too.
well. Yeah. Big game in a big spot. By the way, who picked the Bills to win that game? And who didn't? Just saying.
Miami's got a problem. I alluded to it before. Miami's got some major problems on that defense, man. They got to show they can stop anyone.
Yeah, but you know what? The offense would look stagnant too. This is not the same Buffalo Bills defense as last year. Von Miller out there, right? You know what I mean?
That's true.
But they looked human, right?
Yeah.
Versus what they looked against. I mean, the freaking Denver Broncos the week before. I get it. I got one other. Surprisingly, I don't have any quarterback by name on this list. I don't think there was spectacular quarterback performances. Your 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. So the other one for me is a wide receiver, AJ Brown, 9 for 175 and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about another player who needed it. Yes, I know the Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. I actually had my son at a park earlier this evening playing with some of his buddies whose dad happens to be from Philly, diehard Eagles fan. And we were talking about it like, I know that, listen, the Eagles are 4-0. And what's crazy about this is they haven't been playing great football. And they're still figuring out, hey, look, they got a new offensive coordinator
and defensive
coordinator, and yet you're still 4-0. Like, I don't care how you win football games, just win the football game, right? That's the only statistic that actually matters.
If you're figuring out, how to make your team better while winning, I mean, it's
scary. It's a scary proposition for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that had been lacking through the first 3 weeks was that Hurts Brown connection that we saw last year. This was a tight football game. Washington played them as tough as you possibly could, giving themselves an opportunity to win this football game.
Mm-hmm.
But like, talk about somebody who needed to like get that off their back a little bit was AJ in this game, and 9 for 175 and 2 TDs is nothing to sneeze at.
I agree.
You got another or no?
No, let's for time's sake, let's just mosey on along.
I'm going to be honest with you, Lou. I think this week's slate of games is a pile of doo-doo.
That's why I'm going out this Sunday, with the family, taking my family out.
Is there anything you're looking forward to?
Other than the Captain Obvious here, Dallas versus San Francisco, for all the the reasons why, and we'll get into it later. Probably when we make our pick'ems. The other game is Jacksonville Buffalo, only for the fact that Jacksonville gives Buffalo some fucking fits.
Yeah, man.
Over the last in Josh Allen's career, and I gotta say I'm intrigued to see because Jacksonville hasn't played well either this year yet. So I'm seeing what they're going to look like against a contender in Buffalo, and we'll see from there. So, because
Dude, so
I was told that Jacksonville is the next AFC powerhouse,
oh,
and I
yeah.
was also told that Trevor Lawrence is the guy behind Mahomes. Like this was going to be his year.
What do I
That's what I was told.
what do I always say on this show, Lou? That bad franchises just find ways to be bad, right? Like, and I'm not saying Jacksonville's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is the
So,
plateau, in my opinion, for them. Those are the two exact games that I had that I'm looking forward to.
when I
No
was looking
more.
at the other games, I was
This
like, oh,
slate is awful. Obviously, it's a homer pick for me, but this is the '90s rivalry between. Look, I'm getting like indigestion thinking about it. I get nervous. It's well documented on the show. I get nervous during Cowboy Week because we know a lot of Cowboy fans, right? And it's like I gotta deal with them and face them and the whole nine. On paper, it's
oh, we're not making pick'ems yet.
no, you're right. We're not making pick'ems yet. You're right. So I
I
had
will
that
say
game
this. I will
Monday
say
Night
this
Football.
though.
Say it.
I will say this. How cool would it be if the whoever's broadcasting the game were to use artificial intelligence and use John Madden and Pat Summerall's voices to call a game?
Bro.
Dude, I just came up with this right now.
I'd be my glory.
Dude, it would be so cool if they can somehow get AI to have John Madden and Pat Summerall call the Dallas Cowboys San Francisco 49ers game. It would be insane.
That's the
Pretty sure you couldn't do it for legal
that's the
purposes.
epitome of the
But
NFL that we grew up watching.
yeah, NFL, I'm trademarking this, bro. You better not
Let's do
steal
it.
this idea from me.
Let's do it. Let's go find some college web developer who knows how to do this stuff. I can barely turn my computer on. The Jacksonville Buffalo game intrigues me. Like, first of all, it's in London. That's cool. I think that's an equalizer, right? There's like not really a home field advantage there, and it's different surface compared to the surfaces out here. But I think for Buffalo, this is an opportunity to continue to separate from the rest of the AFC as a superior team. And for Jacksonville, it's starting to feel like this is a must-win game. The record and the division wouldn't dictate that, but
I
if you
wouldn't say.
want to be taken seriously in the AFC, like coming into the season, they're the next best thing. They're the next powerhouse. Like, you lose this game and you lose it in convincing fashion, like it's downhill, dude.
Yeah,
That uphill is going to get a lot steeper for you go forward. So for credibility.
All
All
right.
right, here we go, Lou.
Our pick'ems.
It is pick'em times. So last week, Lou 11-5. There's still a super solid week.
Wow. And that's still, what were you like?
13-3.
13. Yeah, 13-3.
That's a stellar.
So you got two
week.
games on me, right?
Yeah, so we picked 3 games differently. You got, let me go back to my notes. I took the Colts to beat the Rams. You took the Rams, and that game went to overtime.
Yeah.
And then the other different, I took Texans, you took Steelers, and then on Monday night I took Seattle, you took the G-Men.
Never again.
Ever again. I'm going to throw this up there and answer it real quick. No.
Yes, I will say there is.
No.
Yes, there will
The
be.
logistics are too difficult, dude. No.
Nah. Why do you think they're doing Berlin too? I'm telling you,
Yeah,
they're
but
going to do like
those are
European.
4 games a year. Different. Jacksonville actually surprisingly is in London 2 consecutive weeks because they're already out there from the
Yeah, I don't know
Atlanta
how I
game.
feel about that if I'm
You-
Jacksonville. You don't think it's
Con,
weird?
the owner's like, I love it because he's just banking money into his
Yeah.
pocket for that. I just think logistically speaking, like the travel's already a lot. The time zone that way, it won't work out. They would want it, trust me, but I think they're making more money not having the league is not having a specific team and then just putting spot teams and spot games throughout the season. They're driving far more revenue. Just my honest opinion. So for the season, Lou, 21-11, 23-9 here. And obviously we'll be
Okay.
doing this a little bit more consistently
All
moving
right.
forward. Let's get the
Let's
schedule
do it.
up. Beginning with the so exciting game tomorrow evening, the Chicago Bears at the Washington football team. I refuse to call them anything other than that.
Dude, I thought you were gonna say the R word there.
No. I don't want to be
Yeah,
canceled
yeah.
for the
Thursday
3
night
people
game.
who are listening.
I don't know if there's. I gotta look into this, but I'm not sure if this has anything to do with it. But like, I feel like home teams usually win on Thursday night game. It's hard for a road team to go in on short rests and banged up, going playing a team on the road. I'm going Commanders for that fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I just like their defense. They have a good defense, a tough defense. I know the Justin Field truthers will probably, say, look what he did last game. I mean, it was against the Broncos, who've been one of the worst defenses out there. So I'm not sold on that.
Yeah, I'm Washington as well. I just think they're the better football team. There's no two ways to slice this. That's it. Washington for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 9:30 a.m. the London game that we were just talking about at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Jacksonville Jaguars are the visiting team to the Buffalo Bills.
Who you got?
Buffalo.
I go Buffalo too. Part of me wants to go Jacksonville, but I really don't want to start in a hole with you. Got to pick and choose my battles here.
I was thinking about that for the rest of the season, I might just let you pick the exact same team and keep.
No, that's why we go back and forth. Yo, for the first year and a half, that's what I felt. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The Houston Texans at the Atlanta Falcons.
Oof. Atlanta's offense looks pretty bad. It's at Atlanta. Give me Houston. Stroud, shockingly, I wasn't a big believer on him. He's been playing really good. That offense has been dynamic. Defense has been shockingly better. I'm telling you, Ritter, I feel like he duped everyone. Everyone thinks he's like a 23, 24-year-old, young quarterback. I think that guy's damn near 40, the way he looks. And that's the way he plays.
Yeah, no. Atlanta's a bad football team right now, which is a shame because they have good players. But at the most important position, the guy who's supposed to distribute it, there's an extreme lack of confidence. And for me, D'Amico Ryans has got this team believing that they're going to go to new heights. They're young. They fit that they're all like at that age where they want to be motivated. They're not like, 10-year vets who are like, whatever, coach, I'm here to collect a paycheck. You know what I mean? And Stroud's playing, and you know what he's doing? He's not turning the football over, right?
Yeah.
As a young quarterback. So I'm Texans all the way on this one too.
Yeah.
Panthers at the Lions. This is Lions. I mean, Panthers haven't won a game yet.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I also think the Lions have some extra rest, and which probably bode well. And I think they're getting Jameson Williams back. So
Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts division game.
Ooh, I'm going Titans. What the Colts do well, that pounding, that ground and pound type stuff, the Titans really take that away from you with their front seven. What the Titans don't do well is what the Colts can't do well, throw the ball, consistently. So I'm going the Titans there.
The Titans to me right now are the most perplexing team in the NFL.
Good coaching will get a lot from your talent, man.
They're just
lack thereof.
Like they're just so inconsistent offensively. And they mollywopped Cincinnati last week. You know what I mean? And that wasn't even that was the complete opposite of what I expected that to happen in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I like this Richardson kid, man. I'm taking the Colts. I'm taking the Colts.
Okay.
The ground and pound, yes. But how much evidence is there that they stop when the quarterback is the ground and pound? I don't know. I just think it's a new wrinkle. So that's me. G-Men at Dolphins. This is Dolphins all day.
I feel like we should have to pick the spread here too. I mean, this one's too easy.
If you're in a Survivor League and you haven't used the Miami Dolphins yet, this is the week you use the Miami Dolphins.
I feel bad too because here you got Miami coming off, a pretty big loss against the Bills.
That's how
They're
you
gonna take.
regain your confidence.
It's
Go
like
beat
one.
up on a down opponent.
It's like one of those revenge fucks.
Yeah, it's so bad. Just go and fucking bounce right after. All right. The Saints at the Patriots.
Ooh, I think this is you, right?
No, I
Yeah.
picked this last one.
Ah, damn it. Saints at the fuck. Both of these teams. Saints at the Patriots. Give me the. Can I say a tie? Give me the Patriots.
Yeah.
I just think New Orleans is a different team when they're on the road. Derek Carr is banged up. I mean, to have a player catch 13 passes for 33 yards is pretty impressive, and not from a good point of view. But I just think, give me the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm Patriots too, for the only reason they're the home team. I think these teams are both not in good shape right now. If I go another week where Chris Olave catches one pass in fantasy football, I might drive down to New Orleans myself and personally fire Derek Carr. And put Jameis Winston in, because at least I know they're going to air the ball out,
Yeah.
and you'll get more targets. And I know that was part of the the game flow last week and Kamara being back, etc. But like, Olave is a player. If you can't get the ball to your best wide receiver more than one time in a game, you're not going to win many football games.
The one who got away for the Chargers.
Olave is a stud, dude.
I was confident he was going to be there.
He's a really good football player. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. I think I picked this one first. Just going with my gut, and I know it's a division game and they'll be on the road, but Baltimore, like Pittsburgh's offense.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Pickett's playing. This might be the Trubisky show. They can't run the football.
Doesn't even make a difference.
No, they can't run the football. They can't run the football right now, dude. And
it's crazy
because
their identity. Still for their whole duration of their franchise, be able to run that football, play that defense, but no,
can't run the football.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore as well. So Steelers will probably win.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Eagles at the Rams. I think this game's gonna be tougher than a lot of people think.
I think it's Eagles.
Me too, but I think it's gonna be tougher than. Gosh, I hope it's tougher, but I don't know. It's funny, as like with the Rams as a division opponent. It's like, what do you want to happen? Do you want the Eagles to drop a game, or does that really even matter in the grand scheme of things this early in the season? Would you rather your divisional opponent drop a game, right, to create a little buffer?
Yeah, but the Rams are not a significant threat to you guys. So,
and I don't think Kupp's. I know his window's been activated, but I don't know if he's gonna play this week. All right, Bengals at the Cardinals.
I really want to say Cardinals here. I really want to say, but
I'm saying the Cardinals. I'm just telling you, I'm saying the Cardinals.
Give me the Bengals. I feel like their defense will bail them out this week.
There's nothing that they are doing on offense that gives me any confidence whatsoever.
I agree, but I just think I like the Bengals defense. I think they can. They won 2 weeks ago. They won the game for them 2 weeks ago, so I think they'll show up again.
All right. Jets at Broncos.
Definitely going Broncos here.
Yeah, me too. I think I was supposed to go first, but I would have taken the Broncos anyway. Which is a shame, because the Jets, I mean, God, they had an opportunity to win that football game.
Yeah.
On Sunday night, but
I get that. I felt like that was all like sometimes even your inferior team,
that was the moment. You played to the moment. Yeah.
Guess what? Now back to reality. Wilson's going to be running around probably for his life.
Yeah. Play to the moment. Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings.
Chiefs. It's always going to be Chiefs.
It's always going to be the Chiefs. Exactly. All right. Game of the week, Sunday night. Dem boys at the Niners.
I'm going Niners, man.
I'm going Niners too.
Yeah, this is where I think Dallas loses, and then they come back in their
go on a run.
Yeah.
So, listen, we've played them twice in the playoffs this last, consecutively in the last 2 years. for all intents and purposes, first game, not so much. Last game was close, right? Like in terms of just like the score. I know the first game was in the 2021 season was in the postseason was close, and it came down to like them running out of time, blah, blah, blah. But they still had to score a touchdown, and they had to score a touchdown prior to that to even close the gap to be in that spot. So it got closer at the end. The truth is I don't know. I just right now feel like the 49ers are a better football team, and I can make the same argument for the Dallas Cowboys that people want to make against San Francisco 49ers. They haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
Neither team has played anybody yet. But the team they lost to, we beat up on, right? But styles make fights. I totally understand, and I get this. I just think where the 49ers are at right now in terms of health and in terms of weapons that they're going to trot out there, I think the offense is going to be a little too much for the defense.
I agree. And the crazy thing is I would have loved to see Diggs healthy.
That's a big equalizer, him not playing, dude.
I felt like he was playing on another level this year, by the way. I don't think he was gambling as much. He was playing more sticky coverage. He could have helped alleviate some of that Brandon Ayuk, his separation. So it would have been interesting to see, Gilmore on Debo, Diggs on Ayuk, and see how that transpired. But here we are, and they you got next man up.
Yep. But this doesn't change the fact I'm confidently picking the 49ers. Doesn't change the fact that I've been nervous all week. I hate the Dallas Cowboys, for all the obvious reasons. Like nobody wants to see Skip Bayless lose his mind more than I do. Maybe Stephen A. Smith does, but I want to be part of that as well. But what I don't want to happen, Lou, is like this is still so early in the season, and I would say this: a win over the Cowboys does not cement that the 49ers are the team to beat in the NFC. It's way too early. We always talk about who gets hot late, right? And on the same in the same vein, a loss to the Cowboys doesn't really mean anything anyway because you're still 4-1 sitting at the top of your division. Like, go play the rest of the football, right? But these are on paper, excluding the Philadelphia Eagles, these are the two teams that everybody thought was going to be at the top of the conference,
and they are.
Yeah. We'll let them go. And let's see how it shakes out. All right, last game Monday night. Revenge game for Devontae Adams. The Green Bay Packers travel to the Las Vegas Raiders.
I feel like the Raiders are a team in flux.
Yeah.
I really do. And I know the Packers looked awful against Detroit.
Division game.
Detroit's defense has been pretty stingy. Something that the Raiders defense has not been. Give me the Pack. Go Pack, go. Give me the Packers.
I can't say anything differently. I just can't. I don't know who's playing quarterback. I mean, honestly, from the Packers, I think I'd rather see Jimmy G play quarterback because at least there's some familiarity with like what he's able to do versus the Rook, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it's the Packers. I think the Raiders are just trying to figure things out right now, And then you got 4 teams on the bye. So you got Cleveland, the Bolts, the Seahawks, and the Bucks. They're all on byes this week. So you got 2 less games in week 5. And
I'm rooting. By the way, I'm rooting for you boys to beat up on the Cowboys, man. Like physically, because the Chargers.
You have them the next week.
Monday night game. Kellen Moore has 2 weeks to prepare for those boys.
Do you know what? Do you remember last year we talked about this, right? That every single team that the 49ers played last year,
I know.
After the week, they lost their next game, win or lose, right? They lost their, even the Eagles, they lost the next game in the Super Bowl, right?
I'm hoping that
the Chiefs are the only ones because they had a bye afterwards that had like an anomaly related to this. I'd have to go back and check what the opponent. Well, we know the Giants lost. I'm genuinely curious now. So Giants lost in week 3. Nope, Pittsburgh broke because they won in week 2. Right? We played Pittsburgh week 1. Pittsburgh beat Cleveland week 2 in one of the 2 Monday night games. That streak was broke in week 2 this year, but it was a long ongoing thing last year. So Lou, that wraps us up for week 4. You got, what did I say? 14 games on the docket, 2 less games. remind everybody where they can find us if they didn't tune in live to this evening's show.
On Instagram and Twitter at WTF Pod NFL. And Weston, as always, plug the YouTube.
For YouTube, we're talking football. That is the preferred method in which to watch these live shows, which, by the way, is going to be and has been the norm going forward. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Sign up for the notifications. And if you should happen to pop in, don't be shy. We have a little script and a format that we go off of, but you throw a question out there that needs answering, we are more than happy to derail the show and start answering those questions, evidence by this evening. But again, we're the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. That's Lou. That wraps us up for week 4. See you after week 5.